In this video, I want to do something a little bit different and talk about the 6 credit cards that I'd recommend getting if you want to create the best possible setup and then just walk away and quit the credit card game entirely. Now, I thought this would be sort of a fun hypothetical scenario to go over here, and what I mean by quit the game is that you would just essentially stop getting more credit cards and more sign-up bonuses, because for some people out there, having all these credit cards at once can get a bit messy and a bit disorganized. So the goal with the 6 card setup here in this video is just to prove to you guys that you can keep things simple while also maximizing rewards, because you don't actually need a ton of cards to accomplish that. But it all starts here with the first credit card on this list, which is going to be the Chase Freedom Flex. Now, the Freedom Flex has no annual fee and it's advertised as a cashback credit card, even though in the fine print, if you read that, you're going to see that you're actually earning more valuable Chase Ultimate Rewards points. The main feature here with this card in this setup is that you're going to be able to earn 5% back, or really 5x points per dollar, in rotating quarterly categories on up to $1,500 in total combined purchases each quarter. However, you do have to remember to actually activate those 5x categories that change every 3 months, so just don't forget to do that. Now, over the past year, we've seen things like grocery stores, Amazon, hotels, restaurants, gas stations, and PayPal all earning 5x back within those rotating categories on the Freedom Flex, which is pretty nice. And then in addition to that, this card also earns 5x back on travel booked through Chase, 3x back on dining, and 3x back at drugstores. You also get a good cell phone protection benefit here, which is pretty cool to have for a card that again has no annual fee. However, one thing to note is there is going to be a 3% foreign transaction fee on this Chase credit card, so definitely not the best option to use outside of the US. Now, I'll talk more about how this card fits into our overall 6 card setup later on in this video, but next here, let's go ahead and continue on with the second credit card on this list that also has no annual fee and is actually kind of more flexible than the Chase Freedom Flex, and that is going to be the Citi Custom Cash. Now, really quickly, before we get on to the Custom Cash, just a reminder to go ahead and subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, because we're trying to get the channel up to 200,000 subscribers within the next few months. But for the Custom Cash next year, this is honestly going to be one of the greatest credit cards for anyone to have in their wallet. That's because the main feature it has is that you're going to earn 5% cash back, or really 5x Citi Thank You points per dollar, on your top eligible spend category on up to $500 spent each billing cycle. Those categories where you can earn that 5x back are going to include restaurants, gas stations, grocery stores, select travel, select transit, select streaming services, drugstores, home improvement stores, fitness clubs, and live entertainment. And the reason why this is going to be so flexible is because every single billing cycle, you can basically just change up which of those things you want to use this card on to earn that 5x back. All you got to do is just basically pick one of those 10 eligible categories each billing cycle and then only use this card for that one thing. So in this setup right here, personally, I'd probably use it as my gas credit card, because there's not a lot of other cards out there earning that much back on gas. But again, this is going to be a very flexible card, so you can always change things up as needed. Just be aware though, there is going to be a 3% foreign transaction fee here, but for the rest of the credit cards in this video, there's not going to be any more of those foreign transaction fees, including the third choice in this whole 6 card setup, which might just be the best no annual fee credit card on the market, and that is going to be the Bilt MasterCard. Now, the main reason why the Bilt MasterCard is so great is because it's designed to earn rewards for renters, and now maybe even possibly homeowners as well, with some new updates that just got announced that I'll get to in a minute. But with this card, you can earn 1x Bilt point per dollar on rent payments without paying any of the transaction fees that you normally get charged, for up to 100,000 points per calendar year. Most landlords normally charge as much as like 3% when paying rent with any other credit cards out there. So again, that is going to be waived here, and you're earning points on rent as well. So that's a nice double win. You're also going to be able to earn 2x points on travel, 3x points on dining, and then 1x points on other purchases. But the feature that I really love here with this card is that on the first day of every single month, Bilt runs a promotion called Rent Day, where you're going to be able to earn double points on all those purchases on that day except on rent. So those categories then become 6x on dining, 4x on travel, and 2x on everything else. Now, that Rent Day promotion was just limited to only 1,000 points now that you can earn each rent day on this card, so just be aware of that. And you also have to make at least 5 transactions each statement period in order to earn the points with this card. So my advice here is just to use the Bilt MasterCard on rent to get 1 transaction per month, and then also consider taking advantage of Rent Day to help you get those other 4 transactions. There's also plenty of other great features and benefits here on the Bilt MasterCard, like a cell phone protection benefit, no foreign transaction fees, and some travel protections. And they also have what I would say is the best list of transfer partners, with programs like Hyatt, Alaska, Flying Blue, Air Canada, and a bunch of other programs as well, which makes Bilt points really valuable when redeeming for travel. Now, the cool new thing that just got announced is that for some people out there, you could also now earn some of those valuable Bilt points when you buy a home. And for this, you just have to be a Bilt Rewards member, so you're not actually buying a house using your credit card, but The way this kind of works here is that if you purchase a house through an eXp Realty agent, you're going to be able to earn 1 bill point for every $2 of that home's purchase price. So for example, if you buy a $400,000 house, you might be able to earn up to 200,000 bill points here, which is pretty cool as just a nice little bonus that some people could take advantage of if you meet certain criteria. And then the hope is that at some point in the future, mortgage payments are also going to be able to earn bill points, which they have said they're working on. So yeah, pretty cool stuff here, which is why I felt like I had to include the Bilt MasterCard for this video, because over the long run, after quitting the whole credit card game, you definitely want to make sure you're maximizing the points you earn from your rent expense and even potentially other housing expenses. And so if you want to learn more about the Bilt MasterCard, then I'll go ahead and leave a link down below in the description that you can check out. Now, next we've got what I would recommend is one of the best catch-all credit cards and one of the best travel credit cards on the market, and that is going to be the Capital One Venture X, which does actually have an annual fee, but it's also a pretty manageable one that's easy to offset and justify paying. So the Venture X card costs $395 per year, but it also comes with a $300 annual credit for travel booked through Capital One. Plus, every single year, starting on your first account anniversary, you're also going to get an anniversary bonus of 10,000 Capital One miles, which is worth $100 at a minimum. That means that when you take the value of that travel credit plus the anniversary bonus, and then you subtract the $395 annual fee, you're still going to end up coming out ahead by around $5 every year. And then after that, any of the other features and benefits on the Venture X just kind of become essentially pure value profit, including the spending multipliers here, which also fit in really well within the 6-card setup. So with those multipliers, you can earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars booked through Capital One, 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One, and then 2x miles on all other purchases. And that 2x multiplier right there is really what makes this a great catch-all card for earning rewards on just any miscellaneous purchases that don't exactly fit into what's covered by some of the other cards in this setup. Then with the 10x and the 5x multipliers, even though you do have to book through Capital One Travel in order to get those higher rates, that portal has features like price drop protection and price matching that can basically still help you to find some pretty good deals. The Venture X also has a lot of other good stuff packed into it, like no foreign transaction fees, a cell phone protection benefit, an airport lounge access to Priority Pass, as well as Capital One lounges, which are some of my favorites that I highly recommend visiting if you ever get the chance. And if you want to learn more about this card, then you can go ahead and check out the full 1-year review video that I made recently, which I'll go ahead and link to down below as well. Now, next here for the 5th credit card in the setup, we sort of have a choice between 2 cards that really depends on your own spending habits and personal choice. So for this, we have either the Capital One Saver card or the Amex Gold card, which are both really popular options. The Capital One Saver was actually just sort of rebranded recently from being called the Saver One. And with this card, you've got no annual fee along with no foreign transaction fees. Plus, you're going to be able to earn some really good rewards in a ton of different ways, including 3% back on grocery stores, dining, entertainment, and popular streaming services. You can also earn 5% back on hotels and rental cars booked through Capital One Travel, but that does kind of become a little bit irrelevant here just because the Venture X is already earning 10x back on that stuff. But then an important thing to note is that when you pair the Saver card with the Venture X, you can actually turn whatever cashback you earned from the Saver into more valuable miles that you can then transfer out to hotel and airline programs with the Venture X. That means those 3% categories on the Saver card, like dining and groceries, are then going to turn into 3x miles per dollar, and that makes this a pretty competitive option as a credit card for food spending versus the other option that we have here with the Amex Gold card, because that card earns 4x back on restaurants and groceries, which is also obviously really good. Now, the Gold card also earns 3x on flights and 2x on prepaid hotels booked through Amex Travel, but really it's going to be those food-related spending categories that I think it comes down to when deciding whether to go with the Saver card or the Amex Gold in this setup. So technically you're earning 1x more on dining and groceries with the Gold card compared to the Saver, but then there's also going to be the $325 annual fee on the Gold card versus the Saver's no annual fee. So the 2 main ways to see whether this annual fee is going to be worth paying on the Gold card here is by first looking at the total amount that you're spending on food, as well as second looking at the value of the credits that we get from the Gold card. For example, if we say that at a minimum the points and miles on both these credit cards are going to be worth around 1 cent per point, then we have to spend around $32,500 on food per year with the restaurant and grocery categories over on the Gold card to even justify paying that $325 annual fee. But then if we factor in the value that we might be able to get back from some of the credits over on the Amex Gold, our effective annual fee on that card might be able to come down just a bit. So on the Gold card, you can get up to $84 back from Dunkin', up to $100 back from US restaurants that are part of Resy, up to $120 from Uber, and up to $120 from dining with select dining partners like Grubhub and Five Guys. However, other than the Resy credit, which is split up into 2 6-month credits worth $50 each, the rest of these credits here are going to be broken up into monthly installments that you might use in some months, but not all months. For example, if you got maybe $265 worth of value out of these credits, credits, then your effective annual fee on the Amex Gold would basically drop from $325 down to only $60 per year, which is much more reasonable. And then at that point, assuming that you're getting around 1 cent per point from whatever you earn from your food spending with the Gold card, you would only have to spend around $6,000 per year on restaurants and groceries to justify earning 4x with the Gold versus 3x on the Saver. So hopefully that makes sense, because you sort of have to run a break-even analysis here. So just go ahead and run the numbers for yourself to see which credit card is going to be better for you. And if you need some help with this, or you just want a simpler recommendation here, then what I'm going to say is that in my own experience, maybe 65 to 70% of people should go with the Saver card, and around 30 to 35% of people should go with the Gold card. Now, even though we already have one great travel credit card with the Venture X in this setup, there's still going to be another card that I would put in as an additional travel option, because I just think it's going to make sense to have this for the long term after quitting the credit card game, and that is going to be the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which I'll explain. The Sapphire Reserve comes in with a $550 annual fee that can be partially offset by a $300 travel credit that can pretty much be used anywhere, and Chase has a very broad definition of what exactly travel is. So this credit card is going to work on the typical travel stuff like flights, hotels, and car rentals, but then it's also going to work on things like trains, tolls, parking, and more. Now, once that $300 credit is used, then after that with the Sapphire Reserve, you're going to be able to earn 3x back on any other travel as well, which makes this a better option compared to the Venture X, which only gets 2x back on travel outside of Capital One's portal. And also sometimes it doesn't always make sense to book travel inside of a portal, so you definitely want to always weigh your options here. The Chase Sapphire Reserve also earns 10x back on hotels and car rentals booked through Chase, as well as 5x back on flights booked through Chase. So that's pretty much the same exact setup here as the 10x and 5x multipliers over on the Venture X, and that is going to allow you to compare the prices between these two portals to find the best deals when it makes sense to do that. But then again, like I said, when you're booking travel that's outside of these portals, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is going to be the best card to use for that. You're also just going to get some of the best travel protections with the Sapphire Reserve that I won't go into detail about with this video, but you can read about online. Plus, you also get access to a growing network of Chase Sapphire lounges at airports across the country, which includes Boston, JFK, LaGuardia, Austin, Washington, Dulles, and now Phoenix. And then San Diego, Philadelphia, and Las Vegas are also coming soon as well. That kind of lounge access is going to be great when combined with the growing network of Capital One lounges that you get access to in this setup as well with the Venture X. So that is currently going to include Dallas-Fort Worth, Denver, Washington, Dulles, and now Washington, Reagan, along with LaGuardia, JFK, and Las Vegas coming soon. I know not everyone travels a ton and really needs access to these lounges, but again, because the annual fees here are also very manageable and the access to these lounges is almost kind of a bonus value, I think it's good to have these cards and this lounge access for a long-term setup as Chase and Capital One really continue to grow out their lounge networks to compete with American Express and their lounges, which you only really get access to with the Amex Platinum card, which is much more expensive. Now, the other cool thing with the Sapphire Reserve in this whole setup here is that now you're going to be able to make the Chase Freedom Flex card that we have earlier in this setup a lot more valuable, and that's because you can now combine the points earned under both of these cards with the Freedom Flex and the Sapphire Reserve under your Chase account, and then you can go ahead and redeem all those points for more value with either the transfer partners over on the Sapphire Reserve or with the 50% points boost feature that's over in the Sapphire Reserve as well. For transfer partners, along with Build, I'd probably say that Chase has my favorite hotel and airline programs here because you also get access to programs like Hyatt, Flying Blue, Air Canada, and more. So you can basically just take the points earned on both these Chase cards in the setup and then redeem them for a lot more value by transferring points once you know how to do that. Or if you can't really figure out how to do the whole transfer partner thing, or you're still just kind of learning how to work that stuff, there's also going to be a really great option to redeem Chase points for 50% more value through Chase in their portal at 1.5 cents per point. So that's a feature that's going to be exclusive to the Sapphire Reserve and is not found on any other travel credit cards on the market, which is really nice to have here, especially for beginners. Now, all the other credit cards in this setup either have no annual fee, an easy to offset annual fee like the Venture X, or just a choice to kind of opt out of an annual fee like the Saver card versus the more expensive Amex Gold. But obviously with the Sapphire Reserve here, there's a $550 annual fee that only comes down to essentially $250 after that $300 travel credit is used. So the little trick that I have for that is that if you get this card and then you don't like it at some point in the future, what you can do is you can always just call up Chase and then ask to downgrade this card to either the cheaper $95 per year Sapphire Preferred, or you can even downgrade to a no annual fee card like the Chase Freedom Unlimited. Downgrading like that is still going to allow you to have the same exact account open, so really all you're doing is just changing the price you pay for that account along with the features you get access to. So even though I think I would recommend the Sapphire Reserve for the long term in this whole 6-card setup for this video, just know that you do have the downgrade options here, so by no means are you going to be locked into that annual fee on this card. Now, if you would run the setup from this video just a little bit differently, again, kind of pretending you had to quit the whole credit card game entirely, then let me know down below what exactly you would change. But also, if you think you're a credit card pro and you know your stuff very well, then make sure to go ahead and check out this video over here on the screen next to see whether or not you fall into the top 1% of credit card users. But as always, thanks so much for watching.